We begin with breaking news in Gabon, where a group of military officers claim they have seized power in the Central African country. Gunfire has been reported in the capital, Libreville. The officers say the country's borders are now closed and all state institutions dissolved. In a televised address, they said Sunday's election, in which President Ali Bongo won a third term, lacked credibility. Tensions have been running high since the vote, with claims from the opposition of voting irregularities. So far, there's been no reaction to the announcement from the government. Our correspondent, Elisa Chakuma, is monitoring events in Gabon for us. He joins us from Lagos in Nigeria. Elisa, what more can you tell us about this coup and the people behind it?
Well, Terry, it's still trickling in. The big news this morning early in capital Libreville in Gabon, where we saw army officers, about 12 of them, coming out on national TV in the country to announce that they are putting an end to the regime, calling themselves the Committee for the Transition and Integration of Institutions. They've also talked about cancelling the elections, which was held on Saturday, and closing the borders and dissolving the government, the constitution, and also the parliament and the Senate. So that's the feelings we're getting right now from the capital Libreville in Gabon, where army officers, soldiers wearing the green beret, red beret, representing different factions of the defense forces, saying that they have put an end to the regime.
Any word yet on what's become of the elected government? Do we know where President Bongo is?
Well, Terry, that is a tricky part, because since this announcement from these army officers coming very early this morning, just after the electoral body had, said Ali Bongo won Saturday's elections, we are yet to hear from the government. We're yet to hear from Ali Bongo himself or from the military. They did not mention about his whereabouts or how he's doing. The last time we saw Ali Bongo, the president, was when he, made his vote on Saturday during the election. So there's been no word about his whereabouts so far from what we're getting.
Now, just a few weeks ago, of course, there was that coup in Niger. Do analysts in the region see any connection between these events?
Well, of course, Terry, that is what it's all pointing to. Just about a month ago, we had the issue in Niger with military junta taking over. And just, weeks then, you then have this morning as early, it's Gabon in Central Africa. So if you look at it, in West Africa and Central Africa, since 2020, Terry, combined coups, about 8 coups, talk a little about the attempted coups reported in places like Guinea-Bissau. So you then have Mali under a military junta, you then have Burkina Faso, you have Guinea, you have the issue that we saw in Chad 2 years ago with Mohamed Idris Deby, and now Niger, and now Gabon in the Central African region. Lots to worry about in terms of for the AU, ECOWAS, and even the countries around the different regions in Africa right now.
Elisa, thank you very much for bringing us up to date. That was DW's Elisa Chakuma in Lagos. Let's get some European reaction to those developments in Gabon. We're joined now by Alexandra van Namen, our Brussels bureau chief. She's currently in Toledo in Spain, where EU defense ministers are meeting. Alexandra, what are we hearing from EU leaders about what appears to be a coup in Gabon?
Well, we asked EU's foreign policy chief, Josep Borrell, about his assessment of the situation in Gabon. And you could tell that he was really concerned about the situation. He said that the topic is definitely on the agenda of the ministers' meeting here in Toledo. And he also stressed that, if confirmed, this coup would be another evidence how increasingly unstable the situation in the region is becoming. And that is, of course, a reason to be worried for the European Union and its ministers after the coup in Mali, now Gabon, and many analysts are saying that the European Union is losing its influence in the region and that they urgently need a new strategy for the Sahel.
Now, this apparent coup in Gabon comes just weeks after another military takeover in Niger. Both these countries are former French colonies. You mentioned EU influence in the region. France is particularly involved. What does this mean for France?
Well, France is definitely in a unique situation here as a former colonial power in the region, and they still have troops across the region fighting there against Islamists. We have seen the military junta in Mali, for instance, in Niger, targeting France in particular, and also calling on the French ambassador to leave the country. So there is also a growing criticism when it comes to French strategy for the region. But so far we heard from the French president, Emmanuel Macron was quite defiant, defending the French policy there and saying that it was actually France that had so far prevented the growth of Islamistic movements in the region. But the criticism is growing, as I said, and of course we have to see how the discussion will be progressing here during the meeting of the defense and later on foreign ministers of the European Union, and what kind of proposal we will see on the table.
Alexander, thank you very much. That was DW's Alexander van Namen in Toledo, Spain.